Carrying cash is not a crime, but you could have that money or property taken away even if you aren't convicted of a crime.
It's because of the federal forfeiture law. Local 12's Megan Mongello shows us how it works and the controversy surrounding it.
Charles Clarke is a typical college student. He has a job, studies, and goes home to visit family. He grew up in Cincinnati, but now lives in Florida. What happened to him while flying through the Cincinnati-Northern Kentucky airport is anything but typical.
They said that they had got a tip from the ticket agent that my bag smelled of marijuana. And I asked them if they searched my bags, and they told me yes, and that they didn't find anything. And to prove the fact that I didn't have anything, I let them search my carry-on, and they didn't find anything. I didn't have any drugs on me, anything at all, and they still took my money.
They were an airport and a Covington police officer assigned to the DA task force. That money was $11,000 in cash. It happened back in February of 2014.
The money is an accumulation of overtime for my student loans, from the federal aid I receive, and I get benefits from my mom's disability, and me for my employment as well.
Charles's case has been taken up by the Institute for Justice, a nonprofit that champions causes like personal and civil liberties. Local attorney Chris Wiest is part of that legal team.
When someone's watching this, they're like, did this guy break any laws?
We certainly don't believe so. That's what's scary about the entire forfeiture system is basically a government agent can suspect that you've got cash that he thinks may have come from some drug issue, and then they can just take it, and then you have to go into federal court and fight for it for years.
Charles Clarke's legal team just filed a motion here in Covington federal court to get the case thrown out. It's on the basis that there's no evidence of drug trafficking, so there should be no trial. A judge is expected to schedule a hearing on that within the next 30 days. But that's just one case. Paul Newdigate has seen a lot more come through Cincinnati. He says the law helps them break up sophisticated drug operations.
And they get their lower level individuals to run those drugs, to possess those drugs while they have the money. You're not going to be able to marry up the two. So state asset forfeiture allows us to impact both of them.
The impact was felt by a man Newdigate says is a big-time drug dealer from California who was involved in shipping heroin to Cincinnati.
Slathered it in a material to throw off the drug dogs, stuffed it on like a PVC type tubing, went to a FedEx facility and was FedExing it back to California under a fictitious name. $336,000 worth of currency.
Newdigate says if the laws change, police would have had to turn $365,000 back over to a known drug trafficker because they didn't find drugs.
Just because the money is there doesn't necessarily mean it was the fruits of crime. Many times it is, most times it is, but not always. And I think that's why you need a higher standard before you seize people's property or money.
Defense attorney and former prosecutor Mike Allen calls the forfeiture law un-American and unconstitutional. He wants it changed. And there's a bill in the Ohio House that would do that.
The legislation that's proposed would combine them, and you would have to have a criminal offense, a criminal violation, before you could seize and forfeit the assets. It's not the way it is now.
Charles Clarke knows that firsthand. He's still waiting on his $11,000. Megan Mongello, Local 12 News.
We contacted police about the Charles Clarke case to get their side, but they declined, saying they can't release any information because the federal case has not yet been decided. Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana have similar laws where police may seize property on a hunch it's connected to a crime. They're all more stringent than federal forfeiture laws, which some call for-profit policing, because the police agencies do benefit. From 2001 to 2014, the annual national forfeiture revenue has exploded from less than $500 million to more than $5 billion.